So join me in welcoming a very, very dynamic leader we have today on this episode of Aastha Unplugged. She's none other than Suba Lakshminarasimhan. She is an ICF credentialed executive coach, the founder director of SLN Brand Studio LLP. And let me tell you, so she works with all these top leaders in the organizations, the C-suite, D-suite, E-suite, and she helps them empower themselves by managing conflicts, something we all can relate with, such a common thing, conflicts and the whole emotional thing. So managing the emotions. So thereby they're able to empower themselves, they're able to empower their teams, manage them better. And that definitely leads to a beautiful environment, a very empowering environment, and the resulting growth that's there, which is the ultimate thing, right? So all of that. And she's had a 2-decade rich experience as an entrepreneur and in the corporate. So she's been there, she's done that. All the more reason I'm so excited to dive straight into this. And on the personal front, she has a husband and son, the three of them living together in Bangalore. He is interested in art. So you're a Kathak dancer, and there, I relate with you, Suba, because I'm also a trained Kathak dancer, and she's an avid reader. No, doesn't leave me wondering at all. And she is also trying her hands on badminton. Exciting, isn't it? Yeah. So she's helped so many people, being an advisor, being a mentor to them, being a keynote speaker on various platforms. She's published a lot of research papers on various international forums. That's who she is. And besides all this rich experience, I mean, I can go on. There are so many other things that are there. But I've known Suba as a very kind, humble, gentle person. I've had this opportunity of being mentored by her in one of the talks where she helped me prepare. And I think that was a beautiful experience. So she's a big giver. She has this knack for, those little things that she observes and helps you with. And you will observe all of that as we talk. And when I was talking with Suba as to what should we bring to this podcast that can help all of you, she brought a very interesting aspect, which is what we are going to talk about today, the trust quotient. We all understand how trust is so critical to relationships, any relationship, and that exactly applies to your work relationships as well. So we are going to dive into all of that today with Suba, which is, how critical trust is, why even talk about trust, right? How do you build the trust? How do you trust people? What is the impact that can have the presence of it or the absence of it? Yeah, all of that and a lot more around that, right? So are you ready? Just tighten your seatbelts and let's dive straight into it. So welcome, Suba, once again. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for accepting this. And I'm super excited to dive straight into this.
Yeah. So you're so kind, Aastha. When I'm hearing about you, about myself in your words, right? I really felt so good about myself. Very few instances, right, where somebody is talking about us, about the journey that we have gone through. It gives totally a different experience or the different feel to what we have gone through, where we have reached, right? Thank you so much for making me feel this way to start with.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Suba. Awesome. Great. So, Suba, I just want to get started by, very basic stuff since we're talking about trust and the impact it has on the relationships, So where do you think we stand today when it comes to trust in the organizations? And we'll get into the finer details of it. But where do you see what's happening on the corporate front?
Absolutely. And before talking about trust, right, I would like to kind of call out something here, Aastha, right? The space that you are in, strengthening the relationships in the corporate space, right? There, if you look at it, trust is the fulcrum, right?
Yeah.
It's again, trust is not just for leaders. It has to be there from the bottom level employees to the CCU, to the board, to everybody.
Yeah.
So trust for me is the fulcrum or the core behind which all the businesses are running. Right? Without trust, I don't see anything at all. There's no life. Then let's talk about business, right? So trust is everything.
Very well said. Yeah. Awesome. So then, when trust is so critical, it is so important. We see, I mean, quite often when I hear leaders, Suba, what I hear them say is that the whole, the way the corporate works and the way people are today, some kind of a race, which we've often talked about, and that's where the way of looking at, or the lens through which people look at others, their colleagues or the managers or subordinates, whoever it is one of competition, I would say, and is more of the other person doesn't like me, doesn't want me to grow, he doesn't care for me, he doesn't include me, he doesn't acknowledge me, doesn't value me, so much of that. And when you're spending about 10 to 12 hours, if I may say average, in a space with a certain set of people, with this emotion, and I see that means largely trust is not there, right? What is the impact is obviously what it is, but how do you see this whole thing today? This is where the corporate is. You've been there for quite, I mean, almost 2 decades there. So, how would you want to talk about this whole thing, this setup?
Absolutely, Aastha. See, whatever you have mentioned here, right? That's what even I see, everybody see at the surface level, right?
Yeah.
Definitely competition is there, right? Even though we talk about, collaborate, competition versus collaboration, right? Even though we all talk about so many buzzwords, but what exactly happens in real time, right? So that's what we need to delve deeper into, right? As I mentioned, yes, at the surface level, there is no trust. Yeah. Majorly, right? But what is beneath? When we say there is no trust, where is it coming from? How am I saying that there is no trust? Yeah. So if you look at it, it's again from my assumption. Right? Maybe 100 people when I coach, whether it is in one-on-one conversation or group conversation, if 80% of them have issues trusting others, then I'm going to perceive that, okay, majorly people are not trusting each other, right? If it is the other way, whereas 80% of people are saying that, I trust everybody, everything is going good, but the issues are coming up, the conflicts are coming up because of something else, right? I'm going to perceive it as, okay, trust is not an issue, whereas emotions are an issue, or past experiences are the issue. So I may start quoting other elements as the reasons for conflicts or whatever problems that people bring in, right? So it's all about how we perceive the world, Aastha. That's how I'm looking at it. Right? If I trust everybody, then we say in a colored lens. What is the color that I'm going to wear? I'm going to, look at things in that color. The minute I remove that lens, then I see everything in its own color, right? So what I see right now is a building, right? It has that, brick as well white. The minute I wear a blue lens, that brick and white is going to look blue to me.
Yeah.
Right. So it has to start with, again, self. Instead of calling it as, nobody is trusting anybody, or yes, everybody is trusting everybody, right? Then it's not really right. It's not the reality. So in my sessions, I generally mention something, right? Everything is perception. Based on how I perceive somebody, I behave that way. I communicate with them in that specific way, right? Similar, vice versa. However people are perceiving me, the words that they are going to use, the way that they are going to behave towards me will have that, the perception at the core. But what is reality? It could be that my perception is reality or other party's perception is reality. Sometimes maybe none of these are reality. Okay. So where should we focus on? That is the second question that I normally bring up.
Sure.
Should I focus on my perception towards myself or towards others? Or should I focus on changing others' perception about me? Or should I delve deeper into identifying what is real? What is reality? Right? So as we peel one layer by another, we are going to ask so many questions. It may take some more time for us to first get the first answer to the first question that we raised few minutes ago or few days ago, right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very important that we need to address this particular topic, trust, at its core. Otherwise, it will remain like perception. It's like putting an ointment in your hurt, right? So if the hurt is just outside, on your skin, probably that ointment will help.
Yeah.
If the hurt is deep, nothing can help, right? So then we have to treat it internally. Initially, we may have to put some bandage or put some ointment so that there is some placebo effect. Okay, fine. Something is at least working out, right?
Yeah.
But unless until that deeper challenges are managed or resolved, building trust or whatever effort that we are putting in building trust will go their way.
Got it. So what you're saying, Suba, is that then if I'm understanding correctly, that inherently at the core, we all have that trust. It's not gone. It's not that there's no trust or nobody trusts anybody. We all have that trust within. We are born to trust people, right? And we love being trusted also. Yeah. And it's just that because of the lenses that we are talking about, the experiences that we've had in the past, we have been carrying that baggage. And somewhere now we are treating everything, the experiences or the people, whatever is unfolding, we are viewing them through the lens. And then we say, hey, I don't trust you. And I'm not willing to take off the lens or take off that chashma that I'm wearing.
Absolutely.
Right? And you're saying that till the time I'm wearing that, until the time I'm not willing to start from here, me, myself, look into it, it's very superficial then. It's very surface level. Then I may try and just put the ointment, like you said, but at the source, what's causing me the pain, the hurt is not addressed. I may fix it with an ointment, right? So then that's lovely, Suba. But now, here's what I want to ask you, that I get it. This is one part of it and I do the work. But then there are experiences which are happening every single day. There are people who are doing what they are doing at workplace, right? So then do I just go about trusting everybody? And after this, I would definitely want to come to the very important part at some point, wherever you think it's at, where how do you start doing that work also? We'll definitely want to delve into.
Definitely. And you summarized it so well, Aastha, right? Whatever I shared earlier. So when it comes to trust, right, what I would recommend or what I have been practicing, something that I will share it here, with you and your audience, Aastha, right? In fact, recently somebody asked me, I was talking about, building a team. See, I mean, I've been a solopreneur for many years. Then now that I'm slowly building a team and I have somebody to, support me in business development and then, content management and all other stuff. And I was like mentioning it to a friend, right? Then he asked me, so how do you choose these people, Suba? Yeah. Because they are all like independent consultants. They are not on any, direct payroll or something with me. Yeah. Independent consultants. With independent consultants, even though we may, sign up NDA agreement and all other stuff, right? I will be sharing some copyrighted information, all the, intellectual property, even my existing client information, right? Contact details and everything. If I have to, really go into the granular level, I may be sharing a lot of information with them, right?
Yeah.
Then that is where the question was coming from. It's not about how to hire people, right? How do you, trust them? How do you hire them? The background information, what he wants to know is like trust, right? How do you trust somebody? Then I mentioned, like, what? Whenever I'm sharing something with somebody, right? They are also human being, fellow human being with all different sort of emotions like me.
Yep.
I'm also not always being positive, right? I also have my negative, side of it, which comes up in different circumstances, right? So likewise, they are also there. So when I'm starting, why not trust them 100%? Why should I bring in some percentage over there? Why not trust that fellow human being, right? If something goes wrong, right, there is a learning for me. So that learning always have helped me in streamlining something, bringing in some procedures, creating a different strategy behind, around my business. See, this is how it has been helping me. So my recommendation would be just start with, when you're starting a new relationship, right, within the organization, it could be that you have a new boss, right? When a new boss is coming in, definitely you will be hearing 100 different stuff about that person, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it, all these 100 different things, whether it is positive or negative, everything is coming from somebody else's perception towards that boss, right? See, why not you just go trust that person 100%, start the journey. As you move along, put some percentage there. Maybe for certain stuff, you trust him or her 100%. For some areas, you be conscious or cautious. But why should we start with doubt? See, doubt is again, whether it is self-doubt or we say doubt somebody else, right? It is a negative energy. End of the day, it is a negative energy. Whereas trust is a positive energy. Why not we go with that positive energy? For me, Aastha, everything is energy exchange. Right? So the minute I wake up in the morning, if I wake up with a good mood, with that positive energy, whatever happens around me, I'll be kind to my husband, kind to my son. Yeah. If I wake up with some, negative mindset or negative mood, even though they are very supportive, I may show anger and I may behave in a different way. Same thing happens everywhere. Whatever be the relationship, the energy that I have, that's what gets, translated into words or actions or, my attitude and everything. This is my strong belief, in which, in fact, I'm working every day, be it my day-to-day operations or strategy building, executing strategy, building new relationships, getting into new market, expanding old market, existing market. This has been, I would say, my, core strength.
Sure. Everything is an energy exchange. So then, so what you're saying, Suba, is that one is starting with trusting everybody 100%. Now that's super powerful, And for that, I definitely need to do that work on myself, identify, because what stands in the way of me bringing that trust, 100% trust. So that's one part of it. But when you say start by trusting 100%, and then you will have both sets of experiences where one will be lessons, both will be lessons for you, but one which will be like a positive reinforcement. Great. This is amazing, right? And the second would be where maybe some things didn't work out the way you wanted them to. And that's a lesson. You learn to be cautious. And that's, again, growth. So, so two things here. Number one, when you trust 100% and so what is the impact that has in that relationship, in the quality of that relationship? Sure, you may have bad experiences as well, but what is the overall impact on you, how you show up, and then the other person, of course. And two, when you've had those, the bad ones, the so-called bad ones, and you are now cautious, how do you also draw that line where you don't take that as another chashma or a lens,
Absolutely. Beautiful questions, Aastha. Thanks for asking these. Yeah. So talking about the first one, right, where I have trusted somebody or, the life, for example, right, 100%. First of all, it brings in a lot of peace of mind. I don't get any sleep, disturbances in my sleep. The minute I hit my bed, if something is running in my mind, it could be that, okay, what the checklist, okay, what are the stuff that I'm supposed to take care of the next day? Then I pick a book and then read few pages, then I'm off to sleep, right? So that personal, I'm just sharing all my personal, experiences here, right? So the minute I started sleeping well, it shows up in my physical health. Yeah. When I'm energetic enough physically, right, I'm able to focus on, kind of segregate my energy, bring in better focus in my day-to-day operations, right? So definitely that creates impact in building the right relationships, right? So where should I put my energy? There is a clarity. Every day when I wake up, if the previous night was peaceful, if I had slept peacefully, right? Every day, the next day, whatever segments that I go through, yeah, whatever feelings that I want to achieve after each segment, I see that I'm achieving. Right? It could be, it's not always positive, right? But whatever it is, I'm able to see the result. I'm able to see what's happening around me. So there is a clarity. It brings in a lot of clarity. Of course, it helps in my business growth, financial growth, right? And then network, the rich network that now I have, right? The trust circle that I have, that has come because I trusted people 100%. Whatever problem that I may, come across in the coming days, right? I have n number of doors which I can knock. The minute I knock, I know that the door will be open. And I have people in my trust circle who can help me for, what sort of problem that I may come across, challenge that I may come across. Right. If it is finance related, I have somebody. If it is sales related, I have somebody. If it is, customer management related, I have somebody. We need different sort of people, right? Right. So sometimes I get to, deal with some tough customers. Yeah, where, initially, now that, I have a process in place, earlier times, I used to deliver and then only I used to, take money. Yeah. People abscond, right? So only so much you can do in that space, right? So how can you be, calm and quiet, accept that, okay, that guy or girl has absconded. Just move on, Suba, right? Even for that dialogue to happen, I had to knock somebody's door. Then when they tell me that, what, these things happen in business. Now you are a celebrity, Suba. Now you are an entrepreneur, Suba. You are facing all entrepreneurial challenges, Suba. See, when somebody said that, it was like a different feel altogether. Initially, the feeling was, okay, somebody cheated me. Yeah. How did I allow somebody to cheat me? That was the feeling, right? That was the emotion. The minute I knocked somebody's door, the minute they said that, what, all these are entrepreneurial problems. You will know how to handle it. Then it's like, oh my God, I'm an entrepreneur. Why am I bothered, right? So what can I do now? Then I change my process, right? So if you look at it, even though it may look like one experience, how did I get that door? Because we both trusted each other.
Absolutely. That's what I was just thinking.
Right.
Such a beautiful, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It's such a beautiful loop that I'm seeing here where you started by trusting 100%. You created the beautiful, the togetherness. And now you have a door to knock and there's somebody you can reach out to and say that, hey, this is where it is, and that's okay, that's part of it, and you're like, oh, okay, this is how it works, and that started in the first place because you just trusted each other.
Absolutely. So, that response itself has the other, question, answer to the second question as well that you raised, right? So first of all, I'm trusting something or somebody, whereas the response is completely different, right? Then of course, I go through all the emotions, like, why, of course, not now. Why did this happen to me? All sort of questions I used to ask. That is something that I've come out now. But nowadays, how I am looking at it, I'm trusting somebody 100%, but the trust is broken, right? Nowadays, now that I'm in this space, after becoming a coach, that ICF, put myself into, I don't know how many hours of training, mentoring, and peer coaching and all, right? So at this moment, what I ask myself is like, at this moment, whatever I'm feeling, that emotions, am I kind to myself? Yeah. Am I being hard on myself? That is the first question that I'm asking. If I feel like, okay, I'm being hard on myself, again, I'm blaming myself for the situation. Yeah. If this question pops up, maybe, Suba, you shouldn't have trusted that person, right? If that dialogues pop up, right? So I just make sure I be kind to myself. Yeah. First thing, it's okay, Suba. Just, give a pat. Just give up that self-hug. And then start thinking about, this is something that I've practiced really, really well. I'm much, much better in that space. Looking at the other party who has kind of, say if they cheated me or, they broke the trust for some reason, right? Then I start delving. In fact, that is something that I do it in my reflection document. Yeah. I reflect a lot in the form of writing, right? Immediately I put, okay, why did they behave like that? What could have been the reason? See, definitely I would know something about them, right? Maybe somebody is lying. Yeah, somebody lied, which created some consequences in my business, right? Then if I have to look at them from that lie, right? Why did they do that? Maybe they are insecure. Yeah. Maybe they are not confident enough to face that truth, right? Then they were only looking for some shortcuts, right? They are not bad. They are only taking some shortcuts to solve something for short-term benefit, right? So the minute I get some clarity over there, then I'm able to be kind to them to some level. Say, I may say, keep that relationship in hi-bye, or I may move away. That's a different thing, right? That decision is something that I'll be making towards the end. Or maybe I may keep them, at a distance for some time, till the time I regain that trust. Because that percentage has gone down now, right? It's not 100% anymore. Yeah. So a couple of, these things, but being kind to myself, kindly looking at them. Why they are behaving. Sometimes, you get into a toxic, relationship, right? Because you trusted somebody, you get into some relationship, even professionally that happens, right? So you trust them, though you give out a lot to them, but neither they don't pay you or they don't give you whatever they promised. These things happen as well, right? So then you realize that, okay, you may put them under toxic, that bucket. Right. Again, I try my best to understand them, why they are behaving that way. It could be that whatever the business that they were expecting, the money that they were expecting to come, maybe they didn't get it. Or from the beginning, they were, interacting with me with an intention to cheat me. Only these two, right? Either they have money, or from the beginning, they decided, okay, they saw that, okay, I'm trusting them. They set that intention, okay, let me cheat and then get things out of this lady, right? Yeah. So that also you will get to know, right? Our intuition will say, so based on the intention in which they have been interacting with you, they have been, having that relationship with me, I make that decision. Sometimes I just break, that 100 also becomes 0. When I know that, okay, they have been interacting with me with an intention to, cheat or do something, yeah, there is no trust that they had built. They didn't really work hard to build the trust. Then I just cut it and move away. Because it's, why to continue? Because end of the day, we are all human beings, right? Yeah. I'm very sure I won't be able to mingle with them, do any business with them with that trust. Yeah. I don't want to even put any number over there.
Wow. So, most important is being kind to yourself. I think that's what I loved about what you said. It's even this whole discussion around trust is before anybody else, it's for you. It's for me, because like you said, the peace of mind and the impact it has on me, and how I show up, who I be is massive. And when I realize, so in this scenario, if you're saying, when I realize that there is somebody who's not honoring me for whatever reasons, instead of asking why this happened to me, maybe what's the lesson here for me, and how can I manage myself better the next time? How can I deal with things better? So there's always a lesson. So no need of wearing a chashma there, is what you're saying. If I can ask these questions,
absolutely,
am I being kind to myself fundamentally? I'm not going against myself. Absolutely. And then you're saying that, when you're reflecting, I think this is so powerful, where you're saying what possibly could have made the other person do it. So maybe there's an element of empathy also there, which comes in a lot of times. And then somewhere you realize that, oh, maybe I get it. And I think we get it. Some people often say you use the word intuition. We know it within, somewhere, that this knowing that, no, there may be something not right, or no, here there is some malintention kind of a thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's where then you take care of yourself and you say, maybe this doesn't work, doesn't honor me. It's okay, lesson for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But then I don't stop trusting everybody around as a result.
Very true.
Wow. Great. So, Suba, how do you, when we say 100%, start by trusting 100%, how does that look like in reality? What would 100% trust somebody look like?
That's a great question, Aastha, because when I say that I trust somebody 100%, doesn't mean that I give 100% of who I am to them. Right? So you have to be conscious, you have to be cautious enough, right? When you say, you trust 100%, trust them to do their job. See, that is where, people are struggling, especially leaders are struggling in delegating. Yeah. Because, somehow they feel like only they can complete something in the way that they want it to be. Right. So the task might, they would have segregated all the tasks, delegated all the tasks, right? But still they will be sitting on everybody's head. Getting that label, micromanaging, this, there is no freedom. There is no, see, this is where that psychological safety, all these terms are getting derived. Yeah, right. So when I'm talking about 100% trust, when you have allocated something to somebody, trust them that they are going to complete. Trust them when they are making mistakes. Yeah. And trust yourself. Allow them to make mistakes. Mistakes should be allowed, but the mistakes should not be repeated. This is something I keep in mind, right?
Right.
See, today I may be making one mistake. See, tomorrow I should not be repeating that mistake. But doesn't mean that I'm not going to make any mistakes at all. We will keep making mistakes, learn from those mistakes, build in new processes, build in, standardize certain stuff, automate, a couple of areas and make our lives easier.
Yeah.
Right? So the trust has to come from that space. Yeah. Trust doesn't mean that 100% trusting somebody doesn't mean that revealing everything and anything to that person. That's the reason we say, even in our corporate sessions and all, we say, you don't reveal your salary information to the other person. You both may be in the same cadre, same designation, everything. Because of some differences, other party may be having some higher, lower salary, right? There are so many factors involved in when the payroll has been decided, right? So don't reveal that. And, again, don't reveal all your personal problems to somebody, right? To, give you a, quick tip here, right? This is something, again, I share it with my coaches as well, right? In professional environment, you can be friendly, but nobody is your friend. See, with friends, we share so many things, right? We share a lot of personal stuff with our friends.
Right.
But you can be friendly with everybody, but you need not treat everybody as your friend. There is a difference between being a friend and being friendly.
Very true.
Once we understand the difference between these two, understanding trust and then how to leverage this trust quotient will become much, much easier.
So somewhere do you also think, Suba, that we tend to get this whole being friendly versus friends, we get very emotional about, because the quality, the kind of relation, the intensity is very different in personal space and professional space, right? And we get too emotional about things, and then we equate those experiences with, the way it is supposed to be. Oh, if he's a friend, this is what he's supposed to do, and we miss out on the context.
Absolutely.
And that also kind of damages the trust. Whereas in the first place, maybe my context of that trust was very different. It was skewed, maybe. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. You are totally right, Aastha. What we do now, we create definition for everything.
Yeah.
Right? And then we perform based on that definition. We cannot really define certain things. Right? See, how can we define a friend? Right? I may call you as my friend. I may also call somebody who has been with me for many, many years as friend. Right? From my childhood, and I have friends. Right? So there are certain information that I may share with you. There are certain information that I may share with the other person. Right? So the word friend again has to be handled so consciously and cautiously. Right? So even within friends, we kind of not share everything and anything. Right? Then we pick and choose. Right? So how do we pick and choose some friends? Based on our past experiences, based on how they are behaving with us, how we are behaving with us, and then we also see for some similarities, maybe some interest, some similar interest, similar goals. Right? There are so many factors elements that we bring in when we are building any relationship, whether we call it as friend or professional setup, or whatever name or label that we give to that relationship. Right? We all know that we can define it so well. We can have different, definitions for different friends, right? So even if you want to call somebody as a friend from your professional network, from your organization, define it carefully.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, and so when you're saying a little bit more on this, so when you're saying so fine, I mean defining this a little better and being mindful of not just getting hooked onto a certain definition and trying to conform to it. However, a while back you were talking about, let's say, diverging information and seeing what you really need to versus, what is not needed maybe. So typically in corporate setups, you may not have that liberty all the time, or the way it is structured, the way teams are, and there's a lot of sharing of information, and it's pretty much all the time available. And we see data being, hoarded and all of that also happening, right? What would you call as, would that also fall under the trust gamut, or I mean, if I'm there and ideally, I mean, I shouldn't be taking away the data. That's what trust is all about, right? Then, I mean, the trust has been given to me. Sorry, the data has been given to me. Then, as part of the trust, not breaking the trust of the other person, I do not, share it with anybody, or I do not take it myself if I'm leaving the organization, right? And so, how do you kind of that happens all the time, and beyond a point, you cannot really manage that. Then, how do you really ensure that peace of mind, or because the stakes could be different? So, how does that work then? I mean, you can have systems, processes, but even if it happens, then what?
Absolutely. See here, at the corporate front, Aastha, what I would recommend is there are two different stakeholders that I'm, looking at right now, right? One is me, the individual, right? Getting into the organization, I know the process, I know the system, right? But when I leave that organization, what am I taking with me? And what am I sharing it with others? Right? That is one perspective. Then the second is the organization which has set that, the data, who is securing that data, who has set up the processes, systems, right? So there are two different entities.
Sure.
These two different entities become a giver and receiver at different circumstances, right? I may be the one who is safeguarding the data in that particular organization. Then I am becoming the giver, right? It is my responsibility to safeguard the data. So whenever somebody is leaving the organization, I ensure that they are not taking any data with them, or neither they are sharing it with anybody, right? When I am doing a different role where somebody else from the organization is taking care of the data, I am the person who is leaving, then I am becoming the giver. Sorry, I am the receiver, right? So in such scenarios, when we are looking at this data or the trust, if we have to use data security as an example here, right? Again, two things has to happen. One is, as a part of my organization, when I am a part of some organization, beyond what is being said to me, what else I need to know when it comes to security. The minute I decide to leave that organization, what are the things that it is my responsibility to understand? What is something that I can take it away? What is something that I have to keep it in? There are certain things, I can say, for example, when I'm moving out of an organization, if I am a sales, director or something, I'm going to talk about all the clients that I have worked for with the existing organization, right? So if I have that existing organization has an agreement with the client organization that client name should not be used in any of the personal thing, even in my resume, I'll be putting it like confidential client, right? Still, I will talk about, from, X to X times to Y times I brought in sales, revenue growth, this, that, and all. I will not be talking about it I will not be revealing the client names. So I have to be sensitive enough to take that information, share that information. Even in my resume, I may not be putting it across, right? Again, how can I handle it? I can say, you know what, from these industries, I have had clients. When I say industries, if I say IT industry, nobody knows whether I worked for TCS or Infosys or, CTS or which organization, right? It is IT industry. So that mindful I should be.
Got it.
So that is my responsibility as a person who is leaving that organization. At the same time, I have to grow, right? Unless until I talk about the revenue that I brought in for the existing organization, why should somebody hire me? So I have to. So safeguarding my growth as well, safeguarding the data from my previous organization is very, very important. This is the individual responsibility. If they break, then that means they are breaking the trust with the existing organization, right? Others may not know, but you know that you are breaking. So that means you think that you are not, you are cheating somebody that somebody else doesn't know, but you forget that you are also cheating yourself.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, and that brings us to a very important point where here maybe I'm also governed by some legal aspects, and I may not do, I dare not do it kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
But what you said is important. I know it. I'm watching myself. I'm listening to what's happening, and how much of an impact that has, because I think very little importance is attached to it because maybe we're ignorant about it. Nobody has ever talked about it, as we were growing up. And now this is like it's opening up and we're talking about it. But how much of an impact it happens when I am watching, and I'm just letting it be. How does that impact me? And then my growth in the corporate in terms of who I'm becoming.
Definitely. See this, trust and integrity. These two are like sisters or brothers. Yeah, whichever way, siblings. Let me put it, siblings is the safe word. Right. So then somebody will ask, oh, why brothers? Why sisters? Why not sisters?
Let's be safe.
Right. So these are like siblings.
Yeah.
So when trust is there, right? See, trust can happen when you have that personal integrity. So if you don't have that, sense of that integrity or honesty, right? Nowadays, people are looking at all these terms as, buzzwords. Yeah. Actually, they are not. They are a part of me, right? These words create an identity for me. Yeah. Either way, right? Good or bad. This is what, creates the right identity for me, right? Again, with this integrity, honesty, trust and all, Aastha, first time is critical, right? First time I breach something, right? I may have all these inner dialogues, right? Then I question myself. Then I tell myself it's okay to breach. Yeah, all these internal dialogues happen the first time. Yeah. First time, if you win, yeah, the honesty wins. It may bring in some short-term struggles. Very sure. Right? See, the reason why we want to breach, why we want to, go beyond the trust or, not being honest or, don't worry about that integrity is we see some benefit out of it. Short-term benefit. So, exactly. Right. So if we look at it long term, we will immediately correct ourselves. Immediately we'll correct ourselves. That first time, whatever happens, right, that continues. First time, if I can break my, want to have something immediately, even though I may go through something in short term, it's going to help me in the long run. But first time when I breach, right, second time, I may have some dilemma, but again, if I breach, that becomes my habit. I forget that I'm doing something wrong. Yeah. Then that becomes a part of your identity, part of your DNA. Again, as people say, God takes a long time before punishing somebody, right? So somebody is watching. Yeah, they are not opening their, themselves up because the person who is breaching may be powerful, right? But definitely that will ruin their life. So this trust, integrity, honesty and all has to be reflected upon properly, introspected properly, yeah, adapted appropriately in their life. Very, very important. Whether you are a leader or just started your journey or you are a student, yeah, you're a school student, these 3-4 words, you have to understand at its core.
Yeah.
Why people are talking about integrity? Why people are talking about honesty? Right? This is very important. That's one example. In fact, I wrote about it in my LinkedIn as well. See, early morning, around 6:30, my son, if he wakes up, then we will be on time for bus. Yeah. So if I wake him up at 6:30, tell him that, 6:30, wake up, right? He will ask for 2 minutes, 5 minutes. The 2 minutes, 5 minutes will become 7 minutes, right? Then we may have to rush into catching that bus. So normally what, we used to do initial days are like, if it is 6:30, 6:20 wake up.
Yeah, correct.
Then at one point in time, you always give him the 10 minutes earlier time, right? When he kind of, started understanding, he knew how to, look at the clock, and then, so he also started, feeling like, okay, anyway, Amma is going to give me 10 minutes, advance. She is going to wake me 10 minutes earlier. So let me sleep for 10 more minutes. Instead of 2 minutes sleeping, extra sleeping time, he started taking more time. See, if you look at it, it's a simple example. Most parents, they do. If you look at it, it is a lie, right? If I say it is 6:20, when it is 6:30, I am lying. On paper, I am lying. Right? So imagine a simple thing at home that can change the personality of my son. Imagine the huge breach that when we do, what can it bring in?
Wow. Absolutely. So, I think very, very important. And what's just coming to my mind is, even leaders who've been maybe 3-4 decades in organizations often struggle. Maybe they're aware also, and they struggle with this thing of at a, I would say, if not a tangible level, these are more tangible things where I have an agreement. Am I breaching it? Or, I'm doing all these corrupt practices, the frauds and all of that. That's one part of it. And the other is at a very subtle level, like you said, this one, I'm working with you, I meet you, and am I trusting you or not? And that has its own impact, and that then develops into. So, what I'm hearing, and which is so important, is that I get started by doing, by figuring out what within me holds me back, the lenses and the filters, all that we spoke about, what holds me back from trusting people, because there are no two ways about it. That's the way. You've got to trust, that's the natural, I would say, that's who we are. And in every sense, I think your relationship cannot work unless that trust is there, right? So if anything holds me back from bringing in that trust, I better address it, not fix it up. And I actually do that. And that, I think it liberates you as a person. You just feel, wow, no baggage, no burden. You like just trust, and doesn't work out, then maybe that's your lesson. That's how you learn. Happens all the time. I think just happens all the time. And super. This was amazing, Suba. And what would be your closing remarks for all these people who are there in the corporate? Of course, applies to everybody, but largely people are watching maybe at different levels in the corporate. And if two things: one, the closing remarks that you have, and two, where do they kind of get started? Okay, this is, start by this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you said that, right? Liberation. So if somebody is looking for that liberation, having all the baggages out of their system, and if they want to sleep peacefully, they may be working very hard, 12 hours, 14 hours, 15 hours, but the minute they hit the bed, they should be able to sleep.
Yeah.
If somebody is striving to achieve this liberation and then, having all the baggages out, trust themselves, trust others, start by trusting others 100%, and then depending on the experience, and then either you don't trust, just leave away from them, or you move away from them, or you take them away from your life. Again, it doesn't make you a bad person or the other person a bad person, right? And most importantly, trust the process which is already set by the organization. Yeah. If you feel like the process is not right, speak up. take it to the right party and then tell them that this is not right. Yeah. Instead, if you don't trust the process, you are the person who is going to fail. You are the person who is going to struggle in growing, right?
Yeah.
So this vision statements and all, when I'm dealing with, mid-level or, fresher, they will only say, yeah. Then as we, delve deeper, they understand, okay, why a specific organization is having some mission or vision.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of effort before we see all these simple statements. So understanding that effort, the reason, meaning behind each word, in that process is very, very process, system, whatever is already existing in the organization. Trust it. And even that we have to trust blindly to start with. After that, if you feel like, the existing process is not working anymore because, changes are like happening in a different way today.
Yeah.
Like earlier times, changes used to happen every 20 years. Then it became 10 years, 5 years. Now every day, every minute, things are changing. So based on, for those changes, to accommodate those changes, if the existing process, if you feel like will not work, then you talk about it. You be the change maker. You be the catalyst to bring in that change. Instead, if you sit back and then not trusting, it's not going to help you. Yeah. You will be treated as a person who is cribbing, you will be treated as somebody like a whistleblower or somebody else, something else, right? You'll be labeled as in some way, but which is not going to help neither you nor the organization. Right? Speak up, be the change maker, but for everything, it has to start from trusting self, trusting others 100%.
I feel there's some kind of a telepathy. As I was previously also is something I was thinking, and you just said it. I was just thinking, and you just said the trusting self, Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I so feel, Suba, that, the big, in reality, when people say this, it's like you're not able to trust your own self. Will I be able to really do it? Will I be able to make it? What if I feel the whole trust here itself is completely messed up, missing?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, as we are talking, I am also, something else also comes up to my mind. This Stockdale paradox, one element which Jim Collins, introduced in his book, Good to Great. Yeah. So this person who was, imprisoned in Vietnam, as a part of the war and all, right? So he was going through some, tough life. See, prison is not a beautiful place or the place that anybody wants to live, right? So he had to stay there for a long time. But every day, what he did, he accepted the fact that, Stockdale is his name. He accepted that, okay, today I'm in prison. He accepted the fact, right? At the same time, every day he felt like, okay, one day I'm going to go out of the prison. I'm going to have that liberated life. In that life, I'm going to do XYZ. Yeah. So this was, I think, 2 different dialogues he had every day during the tenure. So this is something that he introduces as Stockdale paradox, because it is a paradoxical thought, right? You know that you're facing some highly challenging situation, yeah, but you have to accept it. At the same time, you should trust life. There's a hope that you have to have. Right? So this is something I've started recalling whenever I doubt something or I doubt myself or the situation that I'm in. Immediately, okay, Stockdale paradox. Yes, I am struggling today, but it is not the permanent life. It is not permanent. So tomorrow is going to be different.
Yeah.
Right. So this has been helping me in the recent times, Aastha.
Very, very powerful. Absolutely. I so agree with you, resonate with you, trust the process, and yes, nothing is permanent. True. Lovely. Thank you so much, Suba. This was really insightful, really amazing. Had a wonderful time. And this was a very different session from the previous ones that we've recorded. I just loved the whole vibe of it. So thank you so much. Always a pleasure to have, these conversations with you. So great. And I would love for people to, reach out to you if they need to connect. We're going to tag Suba in the post that we're going to put on LinkedIn. So her handle is going to be there. Please follow her, reach out to her, go ahead and see if you want to work with her. She's an amazing person, like I said. And Super. Thank you so much. Thank you, Suba.
Thank you so much, Aastha. Thanks a lot for this opportunity. Thank you.